Back to that search, in my opinion, it's one of the most powerful intents that you can actually go after, because you do have to show up when people need you. Yes, content is very important. Having videos about like kind of the DIY type of things, but that's more to like drive attention before somebody needs you. Like it's more of a, you have to understand what is someone doing before they need your service. But in this case, if you're talking about plumbers, contractors, things like that, yeah, you can plan a house renovation. You cannot plan when something goes bad, right? So that's why search is really important. Google local services ads, in my opinion, are the best in this case, because they're not as complicated. Like they allow you to target a few keywords.
Degrees with the Lavahot Podcast and host Joseph Connell Jr. You'll hear from ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things, from tech startup CEOs and marketing professionals to authors, investors, and sales trainers. This show will be packed with information to help you level up in life or business, taking you from on fire up to lava hot. Get ready to burn this mother down.
I wanted to start with your background. I have a background in marketing. I've worked with a lot of home-based businesses, a lot of service-based businesses, whether it's like home improvement, pest control. So when I looked at your bio and got a feel for the type of stuff you do, I was really excited about this call, because I think recently you were at the ClickFunnels event. I think you even got some plaques while you were there, if I saw that correctly. Yeah. Yep. So I wanted to try to get some of your background and then try to dive into that, like how local to mid-sized companies can start utilizing funnels to start driving more business or increasing business and so on and so forth. But if you don't mind, just kind of give me a little bit of your background, how you got into this marketing side of things, how you got to work with service-based companies.
Sure, man. So depends how deep you want to go into the background. But anyway, I came to America in 2013. So I moved here with my wife. I'm originally born and raised in Romania. It's a small country in Europe. So we moved here for the first 2 years. It was just like the immigrant mindset. We worked 7 days a week in any job that you can think of, from moving in stores to cleaning hallways to my wife also worked in the restaurant as waiting tables and everything in between. I did a little bit of part-time in construction as well. And then we were able to save up some money. And then in 2015, me and a buddy of mine, we bought a truck and we started delivering fitness equipment to some customers. Now we kind of partner up with some big stores like Dick's equipment, Dick's stores. And they were, people were making orders. We were going to the store, picking up those equipments, going to people's houses, installing them and things like that. So it took me a few months to understand that, hey, doesn't matter if you are a good operator, doesn't matter if you're good at installing these fitness equipment.
Right.
If you're not able to generate phone calls, doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to be able to grow the business, not going to be able to make money. So really for the first 6 months, the company was barely breaking even, because what happens was I was on the trucks with my body, and then while carrying fitness equipment and other furniture and things like that, I was taking phone calls to try to sell. So at first I was using everything that you can imagine, from Thumbtack to Home Advisor to Yelp to all of these things that kind of local brick and mortar shops are using at first, right?
Yeah.
And then my first breakthrough was I kind of, researching how to grow your small business, things like that. Somehow a Google ad showed up and I bought a course about how to run Google ads. So I watched that course, and then because the summer was coming and we started kind of picking up a little bit of business, I didn't have time to really understand it to the level where I could run it myself, because Google Ads is like, it's a beast of a platform. Like it's not for the regular business owner. It's not a platform that I recommend to start with, because it can completely drain you from understanding all the mechanics that come with it. So, and then I hired somebody to do it for us. What happened was we spent about $4,000, and it all went to trash because we got 0 leads.
Wow.
We got the guy drove a bunch of clicks to the website. I didn't even know what a landing page was at the time. So the guy drove a bunch of clicks, but like zero leads, nonetheless sales.
Right.
So I'm like, dude, like this, we can't afford, $4,000. We were barely breaking even. My buddy still had a part-time job. In my case, my wife was working, and we were still living off of a few savings. Like we saved, I think, about $25,000 over the course of those 2 years where we were working like 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. So it was hard earned money. I couldn't afford to spend $4,000 and not get anything in return, right?
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not doing this shit again. So I put my head down and started to like really dig into, how to actually optimize a campaign and at least try to get some leads, right? And then it finally started to generate phone calls. At first, we were starting to actually get some traction. So the first year in business was around $270,000. Mm-hmm. And then when I really understood the whole power of, all right, you're not driving traffic to a website because you lose a lot of people in between. Make sure you have a landing page that only collects name, email, and phone numbers. And then lately I learned about retargeting and things like that. And then I learned the power of video testimonials, learned about the fact that, hey, you actually need to lead with value building content, like having some type of videos that people can watch about, us at work, employees at work. We started employee people. Mm-hmm. So second year, the business made about $900,000, close to $1 million in sales. Now, what happened was, because of my immigration status was kind of odd at the time, because I had to keep extending my paperwork. A lot of people don't know about this, but when you come to US on a work visa, you kind of have to extend it. It's a tedious process. So What happened was me and my wife's last visa extension got denied. So what happened was we got a letter saying, hey, you got to leave the country because if not, you're going to become an illegal immigrant. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we have a business now. Things started to like click. Things started to like kind of fall in place. And like, what do you want me to like? You want me to just leave 3 years of life behind and just leave? So we ultimately had to do that. We packed everything up. We left the country. We went back home for about 6-7 months. And I was actually working on US time. So between Europe and the US, it's about a 7-hour difference, depending which country you live in. So I was working on US time, waking up at 2 a.m. my time over there, taking phone calls. My buddy was still here, so he was managing operations. And what happened was the business kind of doubled during those 7 months that I was waiting in my home country to get my immigration status fixed. Mm-hmm. And then in September, I was able to come back. So we left February from Boston. And then in September, we came back. And during that time, actually, the business almost doubled. Why? Wow. Now I was solely focused on, because I was not in the business anymore, I was outside and my buddy was handling all the operations. I had actually time to start really digging into the marketing side of things, understanding Facebook ads, really understanding Google ads first. And then it was Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of YouTube ads at first. And then the power of adding, really optimizing the landing page, really optimizing, implementing an actual funnel in the business. So the moment I came back, a lot of people started to ask questions. We were in a small group of some other contractors, and also people in BNI groups. Other contractors started asking questions dude, you were gone for 6 months. How the hell, almost 8 months actually, how the hell the business grew? It's supposed to die off. It's supposed to grow during that time. But that was solely because I was able to kind of figure out, all right, what exactly do you need from the whole process when somebody hears about or they search for some type of service that you offer? How can you get in front of them? And then how can you stay on top of mind with omnipresence, retargeting, things like that? And then from there, I started to help a couple of my friends. I didn't even call it consulting at the time. It was just helping some buddies that had construction companies and cleaning companies and other stuff like that. Mostly in the local brick and mortar space. And then slowly from there, I started to understand, like, all right, it's my passion, and it's great to be able to help local businesses. Problem is, a lot of them are capped at the local level for the, location, city, state that they're in, unless they want to open multiple locations. So then slowly I started to also accept some online businesses that I was working with, because I realized these guys had the same problems. Like, they were great at coaching other people in, like, let's say maybe in the health space or like fitness and things like that, but they still didn't know how to use the power of being able to show up when somebody's searching for a phrase, for a key phrase, being able to use video testimonials to kind of retarget people that have requested some info from you. And then from there, slowly my journey got into personal branding and understanding, the power of that and how to separate. Really, in my opinion, my most successful story is my wife, because she went from being an employee. At first, she had a cleaning company. Then we sold that, and then she opened her beauty salon. And then when COVID hit, she was like really afraid, like, my beauty salon, she was doing eyelashes, completely shut down, like zero, and as other businesses. So I said to her, look, you already have a skill set. Let's now focus on creating content of building your personal brand up, so you're not dependent on the people that come to the salon for you to offer your service. Now you can actually talk about the skill set that you've already built for the last 3 years, because she went to school to learn how to apply lashes, and then she spent thousands of dollars on other workshops and certifications. So now I said, let's focus on you talking about that. So then we started building her YouTube channel, launched the podcast, and then now she's selling courses, selling certifications. But we were able to separate her personal brand. Yeah, we were able to separate her personal brand from the business brand, which is the salon. And the reason that I'm a big fan of this is we can now sell the brick and mortar location, which is the salon itself, without her personal brand being affected by the sale of it. Now, the exit can mean different things. It can be franchised, it can be licensed, it can purely just be sold as a standalone business on its own, because it's an asset of its own. And then if that goes, her personal brand is not affected, because she can still sell certifications, online courses, making money from brand deals and things like that.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the business. That's kind of the story.
Yeah. So for a background story, that was probably one of the top ones I've heard on, every episode I've done. I was just blown away as you're going through it, because most of the business owners that I've talked to, they're dealing with, regular business related problems, maybe, trouble with getting stuff from a vendor, or maybe somebody's bad pay or something like that. You had to leave the entire country and run your business from overseas. No, I've not had to talk to anybody that has had that experience, but the fact that you were able to take that time, invest it into, okay, well, how do I still increase my brand? How do I take that time to generate more leads, keep the business going? But then you went above that and doubled the business. I was just completely blown away. I didn't have anything to say. I was just like, man, I just want to keep hearing this story. So
and it wasn't just about me wanting to do that. Like, we had employees, we had, like 15, 16 people that were putting food on the table for the family. So it wasn't just about me feeding my ego of trying to, like, all right, now let's, I'm the big, or I know marketing now. Let's do something with it. No, it was, there were other things that were pulling me in. It was my business partner that, he quit the job when he started to work with me on this business. So it wasn't just about me, right? Like I had other responsibilities on the table that I had to make sure that I can fulfill.
Absolutely. That's the one thing that I see with every local to mid-sized company that I've ever worked with is that they all, at the core of it, they care about their family, but their family also becomes their employee units. They care about their families. And in many cases, that's why I say they're, local to mid-sized companies, they're the backbone of the country. They're 100%. The ones that employ the community. They fund the fundraisers locally. The Little League gets funded by them. There's a lot that goes into being a business owner, and a lot of self-inflicted responsibility, if you will, because you're taking some sort of ownership, not just of your business and for your family, but you're taking that ownership for a good portion of the community as well. And then when it trickles into actually providing the service for those for that business, that also plays a factor in it as well. But I'm really interested in diving into almost like a checklist, because it sounds like, if I picked up properly, what you were saying is the first and foremost is, how do I get myself found, which is kind of the area that I've always focused on with local to mid-sized companies. It was typically somewhat SEO, Google AdWords, that arena. How do I get people who are looking for your product or service to find you? And then, how do we make sure that we keep them in the funnel, if you will, or keep in contact with them? But it sounds like for you, it was get known first. From there, have a good system in place in order to be able to capture that lead. And if they didn't convert into a customer, how do I stay in front of them? Was that kind of like the pathway you noticed?
100%. And I guess it really depends from industry to industry, because if we're talking about the home service industry, right, like from plumbers to roofers to and everybody in between, it's a little bit of a different approach. Why? Because it's a service that you actually need. So a lot of times when I teach marketing to my wife's students, because she has the beauty salon, it's still a brick and mortar right store, but people don't really need that service. Like the woman that she serves, they can live without it. It's just a luxury service. It's once they have it, now they need it on a monthly basis. But in this case, when we talk about home service, plumbers, roofers, maybe it's moving and storage, cleaning, electricians, people need this stuff because most of the times either they don't know how to fix something when something breaks, or they don't have the time, or they'd rather just have somebody do it for them. Search, it's a crazy big component of this, and I feel like a lot of people are missing the market, because you see a lot of like marketing gurus talk about, all right, what's the new best thing? Is TikTok ads, is Facebook, is Instagram, is YouTube, whatever. But at the core of it, it's still a search intent. If my bathroom leaks now, like if the whole bathroom goes bananas and it's full of water, I don't just go on YouTube and search for how to, unplug a toilet or how to fix that pipe. I'm not gonna what am I able? I'm only able to maybe shut off the water and that's it. Right. The actual thing is, all right, I'm gonna need somebody to get to my place yesterday. Right. Yeah. So that's when search comes into place. And for home service, it's also Google Locals. What is it called? Google Local Services ads, which is, in my opinion, one of the easiest that you can start with, because it really targets phone calls. Is this the industry that you're mostly working with?
Yeah. So I've worked with over 500 companies, about 40 different industries. That's lawyers, doctors, restaurants, bars, you name it, music venues, a senator. But what I fell in love with is the local to mid-size home service type of company. Just because my background before I got into marketing, I worked for 84 Lumber, and I was a manager of a store. So you're working with a lot of contractors and it was something I was very familiar with. I knew the language, and I think it's not always necessary, but I think oftentimes when you're marketing or helping a business generate leads, it's good for you to not only know how to market, but if you also understand their business at the same time, I think that really helps, because now you understand what type of customer they're trying to bring and what their customers care about. All of that, I think, plays a factor in it. But yeah, so that's kind of like the field that I love to work with, is your home service
the home
companies.
industry. Gotcha. Yeah. So back to that, search, in my opinion, it's one of the most powerful intents that you can actually go after, because you do have to show up when people need you. Yes, content is very important. Having videos about like kind of the DIY type of things, but that's more to like drive attention before somebody needs you. Like it's more of a, you have to understand what is someone doing before they need your service. But in this case, if you're talking about plumbers, contractors, things like that, yeah, you can plan a house renovation. You cannot plan when something goes bad, right? So that's why search is really important. Google local services ads, in my opinion, are the best in this case, because they're not as complicated. Like they allow you to target a few keywords, and now you drive phone calls and you get charged for phone calls. But these Google local services ads only work in the home industry, in the home service industry. Like it doesn't work in this case for like my wife's beauty salon. They're not available. Right. In my opinion, they should be available for every industry, because this can actually be a game changer for the business that cannot afford at first to hire a marketing agency to handle this. And in my opinion, this should be one of the things that every business owner should learn, because you should not necessarily outsource your marketing to an agency. You should actually either not completely, and especially not at the beginning. Right. If you can afford to have your own team, like internal team, at least have a virtual assistant, at least have, somebody that you hire part-time. But you as the owner, you should take a few online courses about that, because that's pretty much the lifeblood of any business. Doesn't matter what you sell. Yeah,
personally for me, the individuals that I've worked with throughout my career, the ones that were always the best to work with were the ones that already had some sort of pre-existing knowledge of how, all the different platforms worked, or at least Google ads, things like that. Because then when you're having a conversation with them about, what's happening with their ranking, or, the conversions and stuff like that, they're not just doing a Google search and saying, well, I'm not seeing my name come up this particular time that I searched. They're understanding, okay, well, there's more to it. There might have been the time of day. It might be the geography. It might have been the search. Could have been a lot of things. And don't pay attention so much to whether or not you came up. Let's pay attention to the conversions. Let's pay attention to whether or not there's leads coming in. Yep. But I do agree with that. I think very often when it comes to a local to mid-sized company, especially one that's just starting out, they might be really good at doing HVAC, but they are not very good at the actual sales aspect of it, the generating of leads, and then how do I take that lead and convert it to an actual customer that's going to get me in their door. I think that's the part that gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah, and that's another thing, especially at first. I would say the first year is crucial, because you do have to understand when you take the marketer hat and you put it down, and when you put the sales hat on, because they're two completely, and so there are three hats. One of them, it's the actual service. So you need to be good at what you do. But oftentimes it's not the company that have the best operator there. It's the best on the market. Like we've seen it in all industries. It's the company that knows how to market. Like if you're not there when people are needing you the most, doesn't matter how good you are, right? So first would be Google local services ads if you are in the home service industry. If you're not, then the regular Google ad, the search ads, in my opinion, should be mastered. And the reason that I say that first is just because organic is great, but it takes a while until it starts generating results. Now, with that being said, you should, especially from a free, or I shouldn't necessarily say free, because organic does require time or requires money to pay somebody to handle it for you, right? It's organic in the terms of, right, you're not paying for an ad to show up. You're paying for somebody to create content, and that content can be blog articles, multiple pages with different cities that you want to service. videos that have phrases that your potential customers are actually searching for, and a tool that every person should use. Actually, this doesn't matter the industry, is Keywords Everywhere. It's a free tool. It's a Google Chrome extension. Now you have to pay about $10 to get like 100,000 credits, but that tool actually tells you how many searches per month a phrase is getting. So if you're, I don't know, an electrician in Utah, like you want to know how many times somebody's searching for an electrician or plumber, whatever the service is. So first things first, it's search, right? Especially the Google ad part, because you can get a campaign today and by tomorrow you can start generating leads.
Yep.
Second is you do need a landing page, not a website. And the reason that I mentioned that, and I don't necessarily mention a full-blown sales funnel, because at the local level that may be overlooked and people might get confused a little bit, but a simple landing page where people can put their name, email, and the most important thing, phone number, should be in place with a simple call to action, a simple hook, or sometimes a simple offer. Like you have to give something to, and you can inspire from different industries doing that. You can come up with some type of either a discounted offer if that's what you want to do, or something along the lines of a free thing for them to give you a call. Now, once they get on the thank you page, it's important to have a video that is anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes long that explains what are the next steps. And the reason that you want that video to be between 2 to 5 minutes is hopefully you have a salesperson or yourself that can call that person within those 5 minutes. And hopefully you even call them like quick enough while they're watching the video. The reason that that's important is because when people put their information in there, they expect something in return. So you have to give them something and let them know what's going to happen next. And while they watch that video on the thank you page, hopefully, again, you or one of the salesperson in the company should call them right away. Right. Now, at this point, you have to take the marketer hat down and then you go into sales mode, right? So a lot of times, I guess everybody, because it's not just about me doing mistakes or you or some of your customers, is we tend to be really excited about what we do. And we tend to just talk a lot. Sure. Most of the times you just have to be smart and do the listening. Like listen to people, listen to the questions that they ask, and then answer them strictly with what they need. Don't try to tell them the story of your life on the phone. Right. You just have to focus on each step at a time. So if the first step of the campaign is to get clicks, well, check that metric. Did you get clicks? Yes. Cool. What's the next one? Well, those clicks should turn in, or a percentage of those clicks should turn into leads. All right. Did that happen? Did you get leads? Yes. All right. How many of those leads became customers? So focus on one thing at a time so you can understand exactly where do you lack the expertise, where do you lack, like what's the problem that you can actually fix. The simpler this process, the better, because it's the simplest way to kind of identify, all right, why am I not growing? Well, it's pretty simple. Like you need sales to grow, but in order to get sales, you need to get leads. In order to get leads, you need to get traffic. In order to get traffic, you need one of these campaigns. And then if something's not working, it's one of these couple things. But if you complicate it too much, if you send paid traffic to a website, now you have to identify where do they click, why you have the Instagram URL on your landing page, because now that makes them click off, or why you have embedded reviews. That works for the website, but it doesn't necessarily work for the landing page, because they can click on that review and they're taken off to the Google My Business page. So all of these things, like you have to keep it really simple. Yep. Now, it doesn't mean that once somebody got on the phone, they're going to buy, because that normally happens if the lead is coming from a referral. I just had a video recently, actually. A lot of people that build their business on referrals, they expect the same conversion when they start doing either SEO or paid traffic. And it's just simply not true, because the referral will do the selling for you. When that person calls you because their friend referred you, the selling the trust, it's already there.
Absolutely.
Your friend already hyped you up, so you don't need to sell much on the phone. That person is just calling you and asking you what's your availability. So because that happens, people expect, especially people that start getting referrals a lot at first, and then they start going into paid ads. They say, well, it doesn't work. It works. It's just you approach it with the wrong mindset.
Right.
It's normal when a new pool of people that have never heard about you and you just popped up, your name doesn't tell them anything. That's why reviews are so important. Even more importantly, video testimonials. Like what we were doing is we were giving, $25 to $30 to the guys on the road, the guys that were doing the test, to just grab a 1-minute video testimonial on their phone at the end of when the service was done. So something as simple as that. And then the guy that was bringing the most amount of reviews was also getting a monthly bonus, and that can be in form of cash, or in form of gifts, or in form of a raise, whatever you want to approach it. But especially at first, you need the first 4 to 6 video testimonials that you can do it on your phone, and always have the mentality of what's in it for them, what's in it for the customer to give you. You might need to just tell them, hey, we're giving you a $10 Starbucks coupon if you're able to give us a video testimonial. But it's so much harder to ask them after the service is done, when your team is not even on the road anymore. Have the main guy, have the team leader ask the customers to do it at the time of when they finish the service.
So I just want to go back real quick because I have a couple of questions there. When you were talking about the landing page, would that for you be just a specific page that's on the site that's kind of optimized for capturing the lead, or are you thinking something external of their actual website?
Yeah, I know a lot of people like to do it on the website. My recommendation is to have a completely brand new domain that is not necessarily going on the main website. Here's why. You want something like, if you want to tell it over the phone, it's got to be easy to remember, and it's got to be something as short as possible. And that can be, like real estate agent or bostonrealestateagent.com type of thing, right? And that can be a landing page that you can easily say it on the phone, and to be easy for people to type it in. Now, that landing page, the reason that I say it should not necessarily be on the website is some people are curious, and they will go from yourwebsite.com/page, and they will go to the homepage to see what you're about.
Yep.
So, at that point, you're losing. Like, you want to isolate you want to
minimize that bounce rate as much as you can.
100%. And this only has to do with the paid traffic. When it comes to organic, SEO, and all that stuff, of course, everything that you do to bring more internal linking, external linking, be featured in some high domain like PR, get featured in publications, things like that, either like podcasting, other podcasts, things like that can work as well. But strictly for paid traffic technique, you do want to minimize and you want to isolate that page as much as possible so it doesn't allow people to get out. Now, if they're really that interested in who you are as the brand, then they can go themselves and type it into Google your companyname.com or whatever. You actually see all the rest of the reviews. But you should have video testimonials and a couple of reviews, and they should be able, especially mobile optimized, because 80% of the traffic will come from mobile anyway. They should not have to scroll in order to get that information. Like the form should be above the fold, and people should not have to scroll down. When they scroll, then they should see, the first thing that they should see is the video testimonials. First thing should just be a strong hook on the headline with exactly what people were searching for at that given time. It should be a separate landing page with retargeting, but there's no point to go into those like really advanced techniques. because the bare minimum is making sure that you have at least this understanding. Make sure you show up on the page when people are searching for you, when people are searching for what they need, because they won't search for you. That's going to take a while until they search for you.
Yeah.
Then, there are people that are problem aware, and then there are people that they don't know exactly what the problem is. So you might need to kind of show up before they actually need you. And that's another technique that you can use with content, especially blogs and articles and other pages like that. You're not giving up if the person is not buying on the phone call right there and then, because especially when it comes from paid traffic, it'll probably be, if you convert them at 20% on the first call, you're a rock star at first, like the first couple ones, right? Like it's probably not gonna happen. Then with time, you'll increase that percentage, but you should have their phone number. You should follow up for the next couple of days, because people will need, anywhere from 7 to up to like 15 touch points until they'll decide to buy from you. Why? Because you have a lot of competitors. Doesn't matter what you sell, there are people that are already selling it, and they're probably doing it for a while. So you kind of have to stand out, right? And how do you stand out? By not giving up until somebody says, stop calling me, or somebody says, I don't need the service anymore, or they buy. So until you hear one of these things, you should not, like at first, you just have to maximize. Now, I'm not saying to be annoying, and because again, think about it. They got with you on the phone because they needed that service. Therefore, it's just, you said something on that phone call, maybe talk too much about yourself or your company. And like, for example, I was on a call with a CRM company recently, and without even me asking questions, the guy just started vomiting things about how the software is being featured in Forbes. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know. Like, I haven't even seen the back end of the I haven't even seen the things in the CRM. If I know about, why would you even tell me why? I haven't even asked anything about that. Why? Like, you just you're just literally pushing the sale away, because I called you to actually do this demo. Anyway, bottom line is, listen to what the customer's problem is, so you know exactly how to answer it back. And then make sure you follow up through email. You have to have the bare minimum of a MailChimp. Like, I don't use MailChimp anymore, and I don't necessarily recommend it to like the online space, but it's the simplest way to at least get something going. When somebody puts their name and email, you should send them something valuable, something as basic as, here's the first thing that you'll experience if you work with us, or like, of course, thank you and all that. But then you should give people some type of things, and give them some value up front. Doesn't matter what you sell. There are questions that people will have, and if you can answer them in advance, you win 90% of your competition, because most people don't do this. So have some type of email follow-up, 3 to 5, 3 to 7 day, where you send them some valuable information with things about, the number one way to fix your broken pipe is this, or the first step that you should do is turn off the valve of like the water underneath the sink, whatever, right? As basic as that, but some people may not know exactly what to do in that moment. So if you are able to solve somebody's problem when they need it the most, they'll remember you forever. Like the most basic, I'll give you an example and then I'll let you take it over. It was freezing winter, like 2 years ago. Me and my wife both get out of the house. My wife takes off, and I realized after like 2 minutes, because I was on a phone call, she took my car keys, and she was already in traffic. There was no point to come back. And I'm like, what the hell? How I'm going to get in my car? And I just go on YouTube and type in, how do I open my car without my key? And the guy in a short 2-minute video, he gives me some tips, and I'm able to get into my car and not freeze my ass in the middle of January. Right. So I'll remember that channel forever now, because the guy gave me some value in advance. But absolutely. Make sure you take the head off, marketer head off, and put the sales head off, and know how to close that deal.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this has been incredible. This interview, I feel like you've really delivered a ton of knowledge. I did have one question also about when requesting the testimonial videos. Would you typically recommend that they would like standardize it? Like, hey, make sure you ask these 3 to 4 questions. That way, we always have X, Y, and Z covered. Or did you just have each person just set it up so that they're just asking questions, letting the customer run with it?
Yeah, ideally you want to ask at least 2 of the most important questions. One is the fact that, they can, or if they choose not to mention their name, they're totally fine. But it's crucial to say that they worked with your company. Like, it's crucial for them, for your team leader to ask the customer to mention the fact that they worked with. So, for example, would be, what's the number one reason why you decided to work with X, Y, and Z? And then they'll say, well, the reason that I decided to work with boom, 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 they'll mention whatever that reason was. They found you somewhere. It was a great price. The salesperson was so helpful on the phone, whatever, right? And then next is the other question that you should definitely ask is always, so what was your biggest fear? Because that's the one thing that you want to know, like, what was the biggest fear hiring somebody to do this for you? And then they'll say, well, I was so afraid that they're just going to run with my stuff, or I was going to, right? Like all kinds of like things. You'll hear so many crazy stories that people have. And then the last most important question would be, would you recommend company name to your friends and family and other people that need this service? Yeah. So again, all of a sudden you prove that person worked with you. You prove that their biggest fear, because their biggest fear is most likely other people's fear as well.
Yeah.
And then 3, would you recommend them? Because now the fact that they've used you doesn't matter that they'll recommend you. So that's the tipping point. So these 3 things should always be asked. Now, if the customer goes on and on and on, you can always cut that testimonial off. It doesn't have to be an hour long. Yeah. 2 minutes is plenty of time to say these things.
Yep. So I want to circle back to I think it was this past weekend, the ClickFunnels events. If I saw correctly, there was a post of you receiving a plaque. I've been wanting to ask, what was that plaque for specifically? And just want to kind of pick up from there.
That was for the first business actually that I started. It kind of turned into a full-blown concierge type of business now, because we have about 30 employees during the summertime. So we connect people from realtors to mortgage brokers. And then when they need the service to maybe relocate from one point to another, we also use our storage facilities, self-storage facilities, to put people in. And then we also have boots on the ground with city vans, trucks, and about 30 employees during the summer to handle all those services for them. But it's also the connection with other service-based businesses, again, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, when they need help with contractors, remodel and things like that. We have a database of people that kind of work together. So when they go on a phone call with one of our sales reps, they actually handle all that for them. Therefore, the whole concierge kind of system, where they don't have to call every person individually. We'll put them in touch with them, and then from there they decide, all right, I'm going to use this mortgage broker or not, or I'm going to use only a part of these people that are in the database. So that was the 2 CCX award, the 10 million plug.
Very cool. On this marketing side of things, do you have some sort of program there? Let's say for a local to mid-sized company, if they're trying to link up with somebody who can help in some of the areas that we've discussed?
Yeah, so we don't handle the marketing we don't have the done for you anymore. But and the reason that I stopped offering that is now we'd rather teach you how to fish. Yeah. So the way that works is we actually, they get access to an online members area where more of a paid wall, like an online course style for the technical stuff. So, how to start an actual Google ad and how to install the pixel, all that is in a members area format. But the strategy actually happens on a group call with me, and then they ask their questions. And sometimes, they may need help with some of my team members, which is in addition to that, in terms of like video editing and focusing on, building either the business brand or the personal brand. Because sometimes, the business owner might want to separate himself outside of the business that he runs, he or she, and then they maybe want to start talking about different things, right? Like a lot of times, all of these small business owners, they have expertise in sales. They have expertise with, logistics, or maybe dealing with customer service or dealing with vendors. And these are topics that they can actually start talking about and building their personal brand outside of the company that they already have. Or they can combine them together and become the attractive character in that business. Or if not, in some cases, you can also have one of your team members. Maybe the salesperson is a guy he's good on camera, or he likes to be on camera and wants to be the touch point of all your content. And that's possible as well.
Very cool.
We do.
Very cool.
That's what we help people with.
Yeah. So if somebody listens to this show and they're interested in maybe signing up for that course membership, just to start that path on their own, where would you recommend they go? I strongly recommend following you on all your social media for sure. But outside of that, is there a specific URL you would send everybody to?
Sure. So if they want to consume more content, they can go on the platform that they're listening or consuming this podcast and just type in Momentum Podcast, and that's my show, especially on Apple or Spotify. But then if they want to work with me, the conversation starts on Instagram. So they can go on Instagram.com/ and that's my name, Marian V. Esanu, and just type in the name podcast, because that's how I know, they came from this podcast episode. And what's going to happen is a little automated bot is going to respond to them. It's just going to ask a few questions, and then they'll book a call with somebody on my team. And then from there, they'll get introduced to, what are the packages that are being available to them. Very
cool. Well, Marian, I wish I could stay on here all day, because this conversation has been incredible. There's a saying, a fisherman can always spot another fisherman. It's cool to get on and be able to cut it up with a guy that's in marketing, definitely have a very diverse background in it. And it's very cool to have somebody that's very knowledgeable come on here and talk about the different aspects of it, especially the area that tends to be the most important for me, and it should be for most people, which is the actual generation of leads that can convert into sales. But before we wrap up, is there any question you wish I would have asked? Anything I might have missed? I kind of hijacked it. I wanted to try to get as much information out of you as I could, and 100%. I really ran with it. I was very selfish today.
Yeah, no worries, man. I mean, that's what the podcast is about, like to have these conversations with other hosts. So what I do all the time on my show is I try to ask my guests to leave people with two very important tasks. One thing that they can do at the end of this episode. So once they listen and consume this episode, something that they can do right away. And in this case, that would be auditing your business to the level of, am I able to generate customers consistently? And if not, why? Where do you lack? Like, you should make a list. You should have a checklist and ask yourself, are you able, do you have a sales process? Do you actually have somebody that can close the deal on the phone? Or if, depending which company, which industry you're in, maybe you close people in the DMs. Like, for example, in my wife's case, she, even though she's in the beauty industry, a lot of the sales happen in Instagram DM. Regardless what that process is, make sure you have it dialed in. So the task for everybody listening right at the end of this episode is make sure you make a list of, are you able to generate customers consistently? And be honest, be brutally honest with yourself if it's yes or no. And if it's no, try to identify, where do you lack? Do you not have enough traffic? Are you not able to generate, to convert that traffic into actual leads? And are you not able to convert those leads into paid customers? These three are the most important things that you should be able to say, yes, I'm able to do this consistently. And then The second task would be something that they can do for the next 3 to 6 months. So then now, after you're done with this checklist, 1, 2, 3, if whatever you're missing, make sure for the next 3 months, you're fixing it, and you are able to, as the business owner, I'm not talking about you immediately. Now, of course, if you're already making 10 millions, or if you're already making, I don't know, I would say over $1 million in sales, at that point, you probably have already a customer acquisition process dialed in. Mm-hmm. But if you're not there, then try to understand what that process is, and actually in the next 3 to 6 months, implement it. Now, that can mean hire somebody that can hold your hand, but you as the business owner should understand you don't have to do it yourself all, but you should see it and you should understand it. Like, you should know what it takes to actually get the traffic. You should see the graphs. You should see you should know what terms are people using when they search and find your business. You should know what's your conversion rate from that. You should know how many leads you need in order to close a customer. And then from there, be able to either partner up with somebody that offers complementary services, or see, can you develop another service that maybe you can add a little bit of a concierge part within your department that you can actually connect other people with. Like, for example, at some point in time, we were actually charging other service businesses to advertise on our thank you page, because our thank you page is a really, like, we were getting, thousands of leads a year, and we were charging a few $100 a month to be on our thank you page, not on the thank you page of the lead, thank you page when somebody was paying us. So they were seeing a receipt page. Right. So those were actual buyers. Like, if somebody buys from us, what are you willing to pay to? So, think outside the box and try to implement that for the next 3 to 6 months.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Marian, I appreciate you taking the time. I know that we promised 30 minutes. I think we probably clicked near an hour. I appreciate every minute of it. This has been one of my favorite episodes thus far, and we're clicking in pretty close to episode 50, I think. But congrats, man. Yep, this was a very great episode. I'm very happy we were able to link up and do this episode. And for those listening, definitely go check out the Momentum Podcast. Go check him out on Instagram. I would imagine he's on Facebook and other platforms as well. And as always, thank you for joining and being on the show. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for having me, brother.
You've been listening to the Lavahot Podcast with Joseph Connell Jr. Do you want to level up your business in 2022? Then visit us at golavahot.com for a free marketing analysis.